This story blends mystery, drama, and the supernatural, creating a world where the past refuses to rest and hidden truths surface in unexpected ways. Every character carries a secret, and every twist reveals that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Late one night, a sergeant named James is called to the cemetery where he discovers 6 people who are naked, dirty, and confused. None of them know how they got there, and most only remember their first names. Shock hits James when he realizes one of them is Kate, his wife who passed away 2 years earlier. While the group struggles with fragments of memory, one man, Carlo, only speaks Italian. He eventually recalls more about himself, especially his brother named Alessandro. Meanwhile, a doctor, Elishia, is caring for a 90-year-old patient who happens to be Alessandro. James decides to take Carlo to meet him, hoping for answers. But on the way, Carlo begins bleeding from the eyes. James pulls over to help, but Carlo stumbles out, overwhelmed by a flashback of his own death. As he steps across the town's bridge, an unseen boundary, his body crumbles into ash. James returns shaken and asks Elishia to keep the truth hidden until they understand more. Elsewhere, an officer named Vic investigates James' odd behavior and discovers Carlo's grave, confirming what he witnessed on the bridge. Later, James goes home where it's revealed his partner is pregnant. The night ends with a chilling sight: another man clawing his way out of his grave. The man who crawled out of the grave, John Doe, wanders to the local high school. Covered in mud and confused, Kate learns she once had breast cancer and worries it may have returned, but Elishia examines her and finds nothing. James, now married to Sarah, learns from Elishia that Carlo's brother Alessandro died just before Carlo turned to ash, hinting at a connection. At the cemetery, they discover 6 disturbed graves, though only 5 have been found. James soon tracks John Doe hiding at the school and arrests him, though Doe remembers nothing. At the clinic, Elishia tends to Kirstie's infected wound, while James reveals that Kate is his wife who died 2 years ago. The group struggles with their identities, and James realizes the returned cannot cross the town's border without collapsing, just as Carlo did. Meanwhile, Maria sneaks out, discovers her real name, and mourns her daughter. Kate and Maria later hide at James' home, where Kate learns Sarah is his new wife. Tension grows as Paddy boasts about his past wealth while Beau tries to guide him. Kate nearly dies at the border before James saves her. Elishia hides the group at a safe house, but that night, John Doe violently lashes out. Vic begins acting oddly after his crash, fixating on tracking down the risen. Meanwhile, James finds Maria inside a church, where she strikes a deal. If he takes her to see her husband, she'll lead him to the others. They visit the rest home, but the reunion is heartbreaking. Her husband, lost in dementia, lashes out and calls her names. The painful moment stirs a memory of a younger boy once trying to touch her inappropriately. Wanting answers, Maria insists on meeting that boy, now grown. When she asks what really happened, he calmly says she slapped him away. James presses further, asking how Maria died. The man replies bluntly she was killed in a car accident. The truth leaves her shaken. Back with the group, Elishia and the others discover there's a strange, invisible boundary around the town, keeping them from leaving. Paddy has his own breakthrough, uncovering more about who he was and retrieving a box from his old family home. Elsewhere, emotions spill over as Kate and James spend the night together, complicating his already fragile life. As night falls, Maria weeps at her daughter's grave. Vic suddenly appears, telling her he's been searching for her, offering help. Vic manipulates Maria, planting doubt about Elishia's intentions. He tells her that Elishia only wants to exploit them for her career, and tempts Maria with the idea that her daughter could be brought back. At first, Maria believes him, but when she realizes his true motives, she tries to run. Tragically, Vic kills her. Elsewhere, Kirstie grows frustrated and searches for the truth about her past. With James' help, she learns she was murdered and that her boyfriend took the blame. However, she knows deep down he wasn't the real killer, leaving her with even more questions. John struggles with violent outbursts and isolates himself from the group. His behavior escalates when he attacks a store clerk. Later, overcome by despair at not remembering his past, he attempts to end his life. Elishia intervenes, guiding him through memories that reveal a dark truth. He had been a murderer. Meanwhile, James tracks down Paddy in the woods and brings him back to the others. After battling with the locked box he carried from his old home, Paddy finally manages to open it. Back at James's house, Kate makes a bold move, revealing herself to Sarah, James's current wife. Sarah is shaken after seeing Kate alive, and the three of them are forced to confront the messy love triangle between past and present. James feels torn, while Kate and Sarah both struggle to accept what this means for their lives. Elsewhere, Charlie digs into his history and learns unsettling pieces about his past from a local barkeeper, leaving him with more questions than answers. Meanwhile, Vic grows more unstable and manages to track down Elishia and John. When Vic threatens them, John lashes out, but Vic gains control by pulling a gun and forcing Elishia to contact James. At the same time, Paddy has a breakthrough when he remembers his wife and realizes he is related to Beau and his family. Wanting to reclaim his old life, Paddy persuades Beau to help him win back his house and fortune. The tension peaks when Vic confronts James, Elishia, Paddy, and Bo. He becomes violent, but during the chase, he badly injures himself, finally giving the others the chance to overpower him. In the aftermath, James makes a grim discovery when he searches Vic's car. Maria's body is inside, revealing just how far Vic's obsession has gone. James and Elishia piece together that Vic was the one who killed Maria. James presses him for answers, but before Vic can explain, Elishia gives him morphine, raising doubts about her true intentions. Because of Vic's injuries from the earlier chase, Elishia decides to operate on him. Meanwhile, Charlie and Kirstie quietly lay Maria's body to rest. Elsewhere, Kate is stopped by Chris while riding a motorcycle. He calls her mother, and Kate breaks down hearing her voice. Instead of letting her go, Chris locks Kate in a cell at the station. Later, James collects her to assist with Vic's operation since she had nursing experience. When Vic regains consciousness, he gives John a silver whistle that had been found in his grave. The moment John blows it, all of the risen are flooded with memories of their deaths. Convinced by Vic's words, John turns on the group and forces everyone into Elishia's van. They drive to the town's bridge, planning to push them across. James arrives and desperately pleads, but when Vic won't stop, James shoots him dead. Sarah goes into labor, but complications leave her technically dead for a moment. Soon after, James learns the shocking truth. Elishia herself died 4 years ago. 4 years earlier, Elishia was seen waking up in a morgue, hinting at her own mysterious return. In the present, James grows uneasy about Sarah, who's healing strangely fast, forgetting things and acting out of character. His suspicion deepens when he checks Vic's grave. None of the risen can reach it because of the invisible barrier, which now appears to be shifting or shrinking. Meanwhile, John breaks into a house but is confronted by Dr. Hyson, a woman who knows him well. She reveals his true identity as William Blackburn and claims Elishia once worked for her. Hyson hints that she holds answers about how Elishia brought the dead back. At the same time, James digs into Elishia's past, uncovering through an old colleague that she had been researching cell regeneration before dying of a stroke 4 years ago. Elsewhere, Caroline tells Chris that Vic is missing, and Chris teams up with James to track Vic's phone, which leads them toward the property where the risen are hiding. Kate begins to grow close to a local man named Owen, while Bo's stepfather Phil unexpectedly returns after an accident on his oil rig. Later, Elishia arrives at James's home, asking for help saving John, unaware Sarah is watching from the window. James is stunned when he finds Kate in bed with Owen. Soon after, Elishia shows up again, leading James, Kate, and Kirstie to demand answers. She denies knowing the truth and pins the blame on the company Norgard. Behind the scenes, though, she begins harsh experiments on John, raising more concerns. Meanwhile, Phil returns to Yoorana after the oil rig disaster, but something about him feels different as he tries to settle back into life. At home, Sarah struggles alone while caring for her newborn daughter, showing signs she isn't coping well. Determined to verify Elishia's story, James and Kate sneak into Norgard, hoping to uncover the truth. Instead, Nicola coldly rejects their questions and forces them to leave. Elsewhere, Kirstie and Charlie bond over their unresolved past, deciding to dig deeper into their histories together. Paddy also stumbles upon new pieces of his own life, trying to make sense of who he was. Kate later visits Owen to talk about what happened between them, while John rediscovers his name, William, along with the silver whistle he was buried with. Fueled by these memories, he escapes Norgard and returns to Elishia, demanding answers. Watching closely, Phil finally tracks Elishia down. James confesses to Sarah that he was the one who killed Vic. Shocked, she urges him to come clean to Chris instead of keeping it secret. Meanwhile, Phil sneaks into the house where the risen are asleep. Without waking them, he drains information from their minds, still intent on tracking Elishia. But Elishia and William have already left. On the road together, she explains their unique bond, admitting she deliberately brought him back while the others were revived by accident. They also notice the invisible boundary around town is shrinking even more. Back at home, Sarah reveals she's been plagued by a constant headache since her daughter's birth. Still, she continues her secret connection with Phil, helping guide him toward Elishia. Meeting him in the park, Sarah allows him to absorb details about Dr. Hyson. When Phil asks if she knows her true purpose, Sarah calmly replies that she does now. Later, she says her headache is gone and insists on helping locate Elishia. During a quiet moment, Elishia admits to William that they were once lovers and promises to repair the failing boundary. But before she can, Phil follows Dr. Hyson to the cemetery, ambushes Elishia, and fatally stabs her. James and William later find her lifeless in the river. James and William quietly lay Elishia to rest after her shocking death. Meanwhile, Phil turns up at Sarah's house, tending to his wounds and leaving behind his bloody clothes. He tells her that he's already completed his purpose by killing Elishia, but warns that Sarah hasn't fulfilled hers yet. At the same time, Dr. Hyson reveals she knows Vic died in the crash and suggests he may have brought himself back. James remains wary of her, sensing she's hiding more. Elsewhere, Kirstie pushes her old friend Vicky for the truth, realizing she had lied to the police years ago. Sarah arms herself and heads to the house where the Risen are hiding, while James digs into Owen's past, uncovering a conviction for manslaughter. William notices his severed fingers growing back, a chilling sign of his changing body, and takes Elishia's research to Hyson. Paddy keeps pressing to reclaim his estate, but runs into more obstacles. When Sarah finally confronts Charlie, she attempts to kill him, but collapses from a hemorrhage instead. Before losing strength, she begs James to take Nia home, but James finds Phil's bloody clothes and confronts Sarah. In another reveal, Chris learns the real killer of Kirstie was his own brother. Kirstie finally tells Chris the painful truth, that his brother Peter was the one who killed her. At the same time, James tries to question Sarah about Phil's bloody clothes, but she quickly diverts him by revealing her hemorrhage. Trouble brews when the Fitzgerald brothers attack Paddy, tie him to his own home just before demolition, and steal his will. Luckily, Adeline manages to free him. Meanwhile, Hyson and William continue Elishia's work, managing to recreate the strange vibration she once used in her research. Kate grows suspicious, believing she once asked Sarah to help her die. She presses her for honesty, and Sarah admits she did steal the drugs for her suicide but couldn't go through with it. Sarah apologizes but reaches for her gun, only to be interrupted when Phil arrives. She quietly warns him that James already knows who he is. At the lake house, Chris stumbles across Kirstie but is suddenly attacked by Phil, who is determined to wipe out the Risen. James intervenes, and with Chris and Kirstie's help, they overpower Phil and lock him in a holding cell. Later, Charlie recalls he ended his life to escape TB. In a shocking twist, Sarah kills Paddy. James pushes Phil for answers, and Phil admits the truth, that he and Vic were created with a purpose, to eliminate Elishia for breaking the rules of life and death. Meanwhile, Bo informs James of Paddy's fate, as Paddy turns to dust before his eyes. Kate finally reveals her secret and ends things with Owen. Later, Paddy's lawyer visits Bo's house with an offer of $2 million and an heirloom, a deal meant to close off any future claims on the Fitzgerald estate. Sarah secretly frees Phil while the Risen take refuge at Norgard. There, Hyson promises she can help them repair the failing boundary, but James soon realizes the devastating truth. Sarah is just like Phil and has been working alongside him. During an escape attempt, Sarah wounds Charlie, but the group manages to steal a van and rush to the cemetery. Hyson and William are already preparing their experiment to reset the boundary. Chaos erupts, and after a struggle with James, Phil is shot by Sarah. In his final act, Phil raises James' gun and fatally shoots Sarah before dying. The boundary resets. Later, James takes Nia to his parents while Bo scatters Paddy's ashes. William remains at the cemetery, keeping watch as Elishia's symbol forms in the earth. William waits in the cemetery, hoping Elishia will return, but she stays gone. Instead, something unexpected happens. Two new Risen, Belle and Chi, emerge from their graves. As they wander toward Yoorana, fragments of their past lives return. Chi recalls his days as a Chinese opera performer before working as a laborer, while Belle remembers climbing the water wheel with her siblings. The two head to Belle's old home, but it has been 15 years. Her family reacts with fear, accusing her of being possessed. They subject her to harsh religious rituals, and when Judith tries to help, they're caught. The family decides to burn Belle, but Chi steps in and saves her. Meanwhile, Kate and Owen leave town to visit her family. Kirstie and Charlie hop on a bus, determined to start fresh elsewhere. James takes Nia to his parents, still reeling from Sarah's death. But when he briefly collapses in a bar bathroom and seems to die, he returns differently, like Vic, Sarah, and Phil before him. Chi later finds a friend in Trevor, who runs Yoorana's Chinese restaurant and offers support. At the same time, Hyson hunts for the Risen, but after clashing with Phil, she is killed by him. Kate and Owen's road trip takes a dark turn when a flat tire forces them to a nearby pub. There, Owen's real plan is revealed. He has kidnapped Kate, hoping her blood can cure his sister, who is battling cancer. The transfusion is carried out, but when Kate tries to leave, Owen discovers his friend has betrayed him, planning to sell her off to a facility. In a twist, Owen turns on his mate and helps Kate escape, but he's shot in the process. Kate drives off in his truck and hides out overnight. By morning, she manages to flag down a passing trucker who lets her call James and offers her a lift back to Yoorana. Elsewhere, William experiences visions of the future where he believes Elishia is still alive. His vision draws him toward the Melbourne Star, giving him renewed purpose. Meanwhile, Mark finally corners William. A fight breaks out, but William escapes with help from an ally. Soon after, William remembers drowning in the past and realizes, like Vic, Sarah, and Phil, he came back for a reason. His purpose is clear. He must return to Yoorana and wipe out the Risen. On his way, he crosses paths with James, who attacks, thinking he's one of them. After a brief clash, William convinces him they share the same mission, and the two join forces, set on carrying it out. Kirstie and Charlie head to Melbourne to start fresh. Kirstie learns she's pregnant and is torn, unsure if the baby belongs to her childhood boyfriend boyfriend Kevin or her attacker Pete Renix. After much thought, she decides she doesn't want to keep it and goes to a clinic. While she's away, Charlie has his own adventure when he helps a lost hotel guest, only to find the woman is actually a man in drag named Raph. The two connect quickly and sparks start to fly. Back in Yoorana, Mark is on a mission to track down the Risen. He questions Chris about Kirstie and Charlie's whereabouts. Chris, realizing they may be in danger, rushes to Melbourne to warn them, not knowing Mark is following closely behind. At the hotel, Chris meets Charlie and Raph, and together, they go to look for Kirstie. But while searching, Charlie is captured. When Kirstie leaves the clinic, she too runs into Mark and is taken. Meanwhile, Bo has a tense confrontation with Phil after finding him in his yard. But Phil insists he's no longer hunting the Risen and only wants peace. Later, Phil spots Kate back in town, chases her down, and admits he just wants a life of his own. Chi believes he's found one of his descendants and asks for help to release his spirit by praying at an altar. When nothing happens, he realizes he's not a hungry ghost and sets out to uncover the real reason for his return. Meanwhile, Mark delivers Kirstie and Charlie to Sam, a Norgard board member. Sam offers them safety in Sweden with money, passports, and identities, but only if they agree to be studied. He even promises Kirstie an abortion. Unsure of their options, the two reluctantly agree. Back in Yoorana, James talks to Bo and later confides in William, admitting that maybe Phil is right. Wanting to live life might not be wrong after all. Elsewhere, Kate ties up Phil, but he explains that Sarah once considered abandoning her mission to stay with James and raise a family. He admits he now feels the same and wants to help the Risen survive, hoping it might buy him more time with his own family. Kate eventually trusts him. With Chris's help, Kate and Phil track down Kirstie and Charlie before they can board a jet to Sweden. They regroup at Chris's house, where Chi and Belle join them. Chi learns of a violent gold mine riot against Chinese workers and wonders if that was how he died. James and William later reunite with the others. James brings Phil back to his house, hoping to keep him out of the chaos. Meanwhile, Chris shows Belle the police report on her death, where her mother lied about what really happened. At the same time, Pete Renix, still confined to a wheelchair, suddenly dies after falling downstairs, only to shockingly revive and walk away. Later, he admits to Chris that he murdered Kirstie before and warns he'll do it again. Kirstie secretly meets with Sam, while Phil pieces together the truth that James is just like him. After seeing Phil's violent side, Kate panics and shoots William. Shaken, she hides out with Charlie and Chris. Chris then arrests James for Vic's murder, locking him up, while Kirstie heads to Norgard. Belle and Chi rush to warn Belle's sister about the spreading fire. In the process, Chi has a disturbing flashback involving Paddy that leaves him rattled. Things escalate when Norgard staff ambush Kate, Charlie, Raph, Chris, and Kirstie with tasers, but James and William regain control. Elsewhere, Mark captures Belle and Chi. Eventually, everyone is drawn together at the cemetery as flames close in, setting the stage for a dangerous confrontation. And that brings us to the end of this series in a story where nothing is ever final, and every answer seems to spark another question. If there's one thing clear, it's that the past never really lets go. It simply waits for the right moment to rise again. If your own life feels a little less complicated after hearing all this, well, you're welcome. See you in the next recap.